Okay, so we've talked about incidence of taxation, incidence of subsidies on producers and consumers in terms of differences and changes in surplus, amount of government spending going on, all the rest of it. We've talked about all of that. Just to kind of finish off this topic, we should also talk about how we can think about the area of incidence, how much is going to consumers and producers in area terms. So just to explain what I mean, I will draw it for you because I'm very generous like that. So let's say I have a subsidy. The subsidy is saying, hey, the government's saying we're going to cover this price of a transaction. Pardon me. So they're going to move supply from up here to down there because they're cutting the price by this amount. It's going down in the price axis. So what's going to happen is they are moving it so that they're going to make up the difference between down here and up here. And they're going to therefore move the equilibrium quantity from here to here. That's one way of thinking about it. And therefore, they're going to be paying this subsidy because that's the difference that they're paying times by the total quantity of good, like per good, times by the total quantity of goods that they are actually selling. So that's the total that they're paying. And then the question is, well, how much of this is going to the consumer and how much of this is going to the producer? Well, the consumer was paying this amount and the producer was getting this amount. This is the original price level. So where's the difference? Well, this is a reduction in the price times by the amount of quantity that the consumer is selling. That's money going to the consumer effectively, comparing to the price before. And this here in green, well, that's the difference in the price that the producer is getting compared to the new price that they're getting times by the amount that they're managing to sell. So that's the benefit of the subsidy to the consumer. So in the red outline is the total government money spent on the subsidy. The green bit is the money that's going to the producer, and the purple bit is the money that's going to the consumer. And that's how we can think about like the area of the incidence of the subsidy. And we can also do the same when it comes to a tax. So if I have price and quantity and I've got supply curve and I've taxed it, so I've increased it in terms of the price axis because the government's trying to add this to the costs of the good, well then, I'm very sorry, well then the government's added it by this price, so this is the new equilibrium because sure, the producer's only getting down here, but then this amount needs to be taken in tax. So we've got a new, I always do. So we've got a new price here. The government's claiming this amount in tax. I'm going to use a red thing again. So this is the new tax, the amount that they're getting in tax times by the quantity, like per quantity, times by the amount of quantities, the quantity of the products that are still being sold. And how much is being taken from the producer and how much is being taken from the consumer? Well, the producer is only getting down here, whereas before they were getting this price. This is the original price level. So this is the amount that we can think of the producer as giving up to the government, because it's the difference between the price that they were paying before by the price that they are actually getting now, which is down at this smaller level, times by the amount of product that's still being sold. And for the consumer, they're having to pay this higher price. The price has gone up by this amount for the consumer. This is the gap here. And they're buying this quantity still. So this rectangle represents, because it's the increase in the price times by the amount that they're buying, just like if the price of something you're buying from the shop goes up by 50 pence, but you're buying 10 of it, then 50 pence times 10 is the total amount extra that you're paying. So that's £5 in that case. And that's what this purple area is representing, the increase in the price times by the amount that you're selling. And so this would be like the area of incidence of taxation for the consumer in purple, because it's the amount extra the consumers are paying in total, and in green for the producer, because that's the hit that they get. That's the reduction in the money that they're getting in from the tax. And then there is also this deadweight loss, because they have also lost this money that they're not selling, and the consumers aren't benefiting from this that they're not selling. But the areas, the purple and green areas, are representing the actual amount that's being transferred to the government on the newer quantity of goods sold. And then the quantity of goods that are not being sold that were before, that's deadweight loss, because that's, hey, we were selling this amount, but now government's come along, intervened. It means that we're not selling at the old equilibrium. Why would governments do this? Well, governments need to make money somehow, and then they can spend it on things that are good for us, or that they decide are good for us. And also, they might do it if they think, hey, this is bad for you, and for your own good, you should be buying less of this. So it's a demerit good. Or if they decide, hey, this is bad for other people, so we want it to be sold less, because, if you go and drink alcohol, you're more likely to go on a rampage and mess up someone else's bins or whatever, and therefore we should discourage it because we want to avoid this kind of bad outcome. A more obvious one is, say, we tax fuel, because air pollution is genuinely quite bad, right? And reduces productivity, reduces people's health, quality of your day in general. So we want to tax things proportional to the air pollution that they emit, because that's not great. So that would be a negative externality, but obviously that's its own topic, which we shall move on to. But this is incident of taxation and subsidies in terms of area.